Hello, good evening, Natalia. How are you? How's everything going?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
That's great to know. Let's begin today's class, please. I don't know if you can hear me well. Is the microphone okay?
Uh, with echo.
Okay, let me fix it, okay, so we can
Mhm.
start. All right, so we should be good to go now, then, Natalia. Let's first, I'm going to assign everything that we have. Today we're starting a new course. So as I'm assigning, all right, the elements for the new course, that is going to be, again, 4 units. We have 8 classes to finish everything, like quizzes, final test. So as I'm doing this, let me know, please, if you have questions, or again, we had some homework to do. I don't know if you were able to complete that. Let me know, please, everything, so that we can do it as I'm doing this.
No, I have to complete all the module B, right? On this class.
Yes, because this is going to be the new course. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, sure. No, I did my homework and I put in the classroom.
Good. With that one, then again, in the meantime, let's do something. I don't know if you were able also to find the task that we couldn't check, because the example, again, what you showed me seemed to be correct, but I don't know what the context was, sorry. I don't know if you were able to find that exercise on Pearson and Natalia.
And the last exercise that we check in the last class.
Yes, the one that you showed me right on Pearson, and you didn't know why it was incorrect, but we couldn't find it, right? It was with a name, and we couldn't find that name. I don't know
No,
if you were.
no, I didn't find.
Okay,
But
no
well,
worries. We're going to try, right? If later on you check and you find it, you're going to let me know, because again, grammatically speaking, that exercise seemed to be correct, but I believe that the context is going to tell us why it was, graded like that. All right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, then, let's go to the document in which you wrote the exercises and read only the first one, okay? You're going to tell me what's that exercise about, and you're going to read that example, please.
Okay, the text about might have, could have, should have.
Good. So let's read only the first one, just the first example, please.
Okay. I put with must have to.
Okay.
In positive and negative. The first example was I must have paid attention to the class if I want to pass the semester. And the negative is you mustn't have slept with your wet hair if you don't want a coat.
All right. Okay, so we're going to analyze mainly the positive. We're going to see why that can be correct or incorrect. Okay. But actually, yes, let's do the following. Write your example right now, please. Only no, actually, I'm going to go there. Give me a second. But before I go there, and I don't leave this like this,
yes.
We have the 8 dates. All right. So it's going to be 27, the 29, the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th. All right. The 13th is going to be last day to complete everything, but you're going to have also that weekend. Okay. So until Sunday, the 15th, you got to complete everything, including the quizzes and the final exam. All right, let's do that first. Good, those are the assignments. Now, it's absolutely the same with the quizzes, so I'm going to do this now. Now, as I'm doing this, we're going to remember something. Remember that to use must have in past, we should think of past conclusions, but a past conclusion has to be about something that already happened, and you're giving a conclusion about that thing that happened, right? But you are using must as in the present form because you're saying something similar, right? But in the past, for example, if I want to pass the exam, I must study, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
logic. But remember, that's kind of an obligation that you give to yourself. And if you analyze, if you use must with if, you are talking about a condition, but that condition in the form of an obligation. Okay, so if I want to do this, my obligation is to do this, right? But
Mm-hmm.
remember that in the perfect models, must is not going to work as an obligation. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the translation, it's not going to be possibly translated like that. All right. It can be a type of regret, but regrets also are not usually stated with must. It is going to be stated with should, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I had wanted, right, or if I wanted to pass the test, I should have done this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a type of, and in that
Mm-hmm.
case, we can use should. But why not must? Again, and I'm going to get the translation. I'm going to finish with this. This is the last. Not must, because in the translation must, it's directly related to something that you did or that's happened, and you're just trying to say, yes, so I believe that this is the conclusion, or I believe this happened and that's why you did that, or I believe you felt like that and that's why you
Mm-hmm.
were like this. But again, the idea is not going to be direct obligation. But in a second, all right, I'm just about to finish. So it was the 15th, right? So again, these are the quizzes until the 15th. This is 50 minutes and just one more. And now we go to check that one. This is the final test. So it's absolutely the same. But remember, the only difference is that it is not going to be available immediately. It is just going to be available starting not that date, the last week. We're going to set it over here. And it's 6 a.m. if you want. Okay, so the last 7 days are for you to possibly complete the final exam. And
Mm-hmm.
there you go. All right, so we are good with Pearson. Just in case, I'm going to go now to the document. You can verify if you received the information, or let me know if you have any questions, please.
I I try to enter Pearson. Is the same password?
Yes, it's the same. How with the same account, these last two courses, well, actually the three last, right? The previous one, this one, and the next one are going to be with the same username, with the same information account that you use.
Mm.
All right. Now, um, now we're going to analyze it. All right. And again, it is going to be okay in a certain way, grammatically speaking, but it is not going to be like the way in which we use must exactly. Why? It is kind of weird, all right, but in English it is going to be better to use should in this case. I'm going to give you the two possibilities. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Um, over here or directly over here because now in the chat it's not necessary. So in the first idea, we're going to have the same, but I'm going to change this to should. All right. And this can be present, but when you mix this with a present idea, in the structure of the conditional, you have mainly two options. You can use only a modal and you can use simple past, or you can use a perfect modal and you have to use the past perfect. All right, one of those. But we don't use the simple present because that's a type of conditional that we call the real conditional. All right, the real conditional. But it is not going to be possible to mix real conditional with a real conditional. All right, in real conditional, you only use present or you use future or models. All right, so if I finish this now, I will go to the cinema, for example. Right, that's a real conditional.
Mm-hmm.
Or If I finish this, what could it be in present? For present, you have to look for scientific facts. So if the water gets to 100 degrees Celsius, the water boils, for example. All right, and that's an example of present. That's present real conditional. All right. Now, when we are talking about possibilities, hypotheses, we don't use the present of any tense. We only use or the simple past, okay, that it's going to be understood as present, and the past perfect that is going to be understood as past. Okay, that's something that we're going to learn. I don't know, I don't remember if we checked that with you yet. I believe that not yet, but that's going to be the rule. Okay, if you want to give a present idea with an unreal situation, you use the simple past. And if you want to talk about an unreal idea about a past situation, we use the past perfect. And again, here down below, I'm going to give that example also. So for example, if I had, right, more time, comma, I would travel around the world, let's say. All right, so this is what we call a present and real conditional. All right, present and real conditional. And this is present. Even though we're using simple past, remember, sometimes we have to use simple past in wish. We covered wish with you. We use had, but the meaning is present. All right, because this is what we call the subjunctive, and this is the form of the verb. It is in the
Uh-huh.
okay. So to say that, yes,
Noise if I will have.
if I only hear if I, sorry, if I, no, if I would have, no, it's not correct to say would in the if clause. In the if clause, we only use, right, and you're right, if was not without the if and the subject. It has to be only simple past or present or past perfect. All right, in the if. So if I had more time, I would travel. That's the present and real. Now, this is the past and real. If I had more time, I would have traveled around the world. Okay, and this is the past and real. Okay, and you can mix the two of them, the past and real with the present and real. It is possible, but it is not possible to mix. So I'm going to give you the first one. I didn't give you the first one. So if I, again, I'm missing that one. If I, this in this case, it has to be something different, right? Because it's going to be unreal. Here I'm missing the if. I don't know why. If I finish this now, I will, right, go to the cinema, let's say.
I
Okay, and
am
this is
here with echo.
okay. Let me correct that. Okay, you should be good. Now that's the I'm here, the present real. Okay, the present real condition. So, but this is something else. We have two types of models, right? The real conditionals and we have the real conditionals. When we have the real conditionals, we can use only present and real, past and real, or now we can also use the mixed conditional. But the mixed conditional, it's going to be only one part of this with one part of this. All right, for example, all right, this, right? If you really if you really wanted to be famous, you would have started that project before. Okay, that's going to be the idea. Now here, I'm mixing This is present and real conditional with the past and real conditional. All right, and this is what we call mixed conditional. Okay,
And
but
how
it
can
has to
I
be like that.
know, sorry, how can I know
Huh?
what word use or what modal use can I use? Because in the last example, I think I can use should. You should have started that project before. How can I choose the
Mhm.
correct modal in
In
the
this case, it's up
sentence?
to you. It's up to you. If you believe that should is going to be better in this case, it is good. But the best option and the one that is, let's say, default in Natalia for all the unreal conditionals is going to be would. Okay, would works every time. And would is what they ask you. If they want you to use unreal conditionals, present, past, or mixed, would is always the best option for a conditional. Okay, because would is the word that we use every time for conditional. But here again, you can use should if it makes sense and it is correct. Yes, if you really wanted to be famous, you should have started that project. Or you could have started that project. It is also going to be possible in this case. But again, if you want to be correct every time with these conditionals, would is always going to be the best option. Okay, only for conditionals. Only if you say if. Okay, but remember, this is not the topic we're in, but I'm showing you this because you were using this conditional in this case. All right, and in this case, the thing that is going to be incorrect is going to be mainly one thing. That is the first, this one. Why are we not going to use must? I'm going to give you now the translation for that one. But to talk about a type of recommendation, all right, or a type of regret, should is going to be the best option. And as we are using here the past unreal conditional, here we only have two options. Here you have to use either the simple past or the past perfect. All right. It depends if you're going to make this entirely, this is going to be a past unreal conditional. So you use the past perfect over here. Or if it is going to be a mixed conditional, then you use the simple past over here. All right, one of those, and that's going to be your decision. Let's pretend that it is going to be mixed conditional, and we can use the simple past. All right, now, and you're going to ask all the questions that you got. Here, we're going to use now these words as for, well, in the chat, you're going to find the translation for the two ideas, one with must and one with a should. All right, when we say must, this is what we're saying. Mhm.
But it's for grammatical rule that I have to choose must, could, should, and my the hardest part I think is how can I know what modal I have to use? It depends of the what in general, not only with would or might. In general, how can I know what type of model I have to use?
Yeah, it's what I told you yesterday. All perfect models, if you're not in conditionals, here I'm explaining this because this is a different topic, because you are using conditionals. All right, so for conditionals, it's going to be your decision. If it is going to be a kind of recommendation, you're going to use should have, right? But it's not recommendation, actually, like a regret or a critic, right? For example, if you wanted to pass the test, you should have studied more, right? So I'm criticizing what you're doing, so should, right? If I'm just trying to point out that you had other possibilities, I'm going to use could, right? So if you really wanted to pass the test again, you could have studied more, and you shouldn't have gone outside. Okay, so I'm using could in that case because I'm showing you that you had two options, that it was studying more or going outside, but you decided to go outside. So as I'm showing those two options, then I'm using could have, right? You could have studied more. Um, may is not going to be applicable in all the cases. Remember, may is mainly for possibilities and conclusions. All right, and that's why may and might are not going to be that common over here. Also must, that's why I'm correcting here must, because must is also for conclusions, but in a conditional, it is not going to work that well unless you find a way to talk about a type of conclusion in this conditional. It is going to be possible, but mainly here we're going to work with would, with should, with could. All right, those are going to be the main elements we're going to work with over here. Then the other ones are only going to be exceptional again, Natalia. Only if you get to find a type of conclusion with may and might and a type of conclusion with must, then you have to use it, right? But again, in general, as you were asking, is what we saw yesterday. Only for conclusions, right? Not for obligations, not for things that you have to do. Because if you think of that
Mhm.
have to do, that's not going to be correct with must have. Remember, must have is not obligation. It's not something that you have to do or you had to do in the past. Like here, if you say, I must have paid attention to the class if I want to pass the semester, right? But remember that for that type of critic is going to be better should. Okay, so must only for past conclusions. Remember, past conclusions, something that already happened, not to give hypotheses about something, because that's going to be with should, again, because that's for critics, not for hypotheses. I mean, hypotheses, but in the form of conclusion. Again, if you see that your best friend is crying, you know that your best friend always fights with his boyfriend or her, I don't know, right? But you say, right, you must have fought with your couple, right? So that's going to be your conclusion. All right, must have for conclusions, affirmative or negative, right? You see your best friend sad and you know that she's sad when she doesn't eat, so you say you must not have
Mhm.
eaten, right? So only conclusions. Then remember, could for a main, might also for conclusions, but when you are not sure, right? When you are not sure, and you can say you may have fought with your boyfriend, but I don't know. Okay, but also for conclusions, not direct possibilities, only a type of conclusion for something. Now, could is for direct conclusion. All right. Again, when you say, I believe that you could have chosen a better option because I see that you're not happy now. Okay. But I'm not giving a conclusion about anything directly over there. I'm just giving you a possibility for the past in this case. Okay, so again, in those three cases, Natalia, could, may, and might are used a little bit different in the present form than in the past form. Okay, there is a little bit of difference, and that's why, as I was saying yesterday, we can use must in present for conclusions, for present or future conclusions, for obligations, or for prohibitions, but in past only for conclusions, not for the rest of them. In may and might also to give possibilities, but not about a real conclusion mainly, but you can do it as well, right? For example, I may go I don't know, to the party tomorrow. That's just a possibility that I'm giving. It's not a conclusion about anything. It's just a possibility that I'm mentioning. But we cannot mention a possibility like that in the perfect model. I cannot say I may have gone to the party yesterday, right? Because it's not possible to give a conclusion about something that already happened, unless you want to give like a false idea or you're talking metaphorically, could be. But in the real grammar cases, you're going to just use may have and might have only for conclusions, and that's not an obligation for the present ideas. Okay, and again, that's not going to be clear. I know that's still going to be confusing until we practice more. I'm going to give you the next translation, but just to finish, could is used for possibilities, for direct possibilities. Why? Because could is used for present and future possibilities, and could in the past form, could have, is used for past possibilities. Okay, but direct ones. You don't need to give a conclusion about anything in that case with could. And should, the same. It can be used for advice that was not followed in the past directly. It is not going to be a conclusion. Should have is not for conclusions. Should have is for what you're doing here. You are giving a critic. You are saying someone, hey, this was a good idea. I don't know why you didn't do this, but this was a good idea for you to do. All right, that's why we call should have uh, past recommendations or critics or regrets. All right, but we're going to try to organize that better now. Let's try to do the following again, because again, I know this can be complex, but I'm going to give now the translation for the other one, and we're going to see what's the difference, and it's right now in the chat. All right, and it's not I right here is this word. Okay, now I'm going to copy the two of them so that we have the
Only I can use. I try to organize the ideas using the models in the past or in the present. I understand that must have is only for past, and could have, might have, and should have. I use these models for past and present.
no, all of them could have all perfect models are only for past. All perfect models are only for past. Uh-huh. What I was doing there is comparing, but in the comparison, remember, I was not using have for present comparisons. For example, I said, I may go to the party tomorrow. That's a possibility, direct possibility, and it has to be present or future, of course, but I may go to the party, right? I may go to the party tomorrow, but I may have done something. It's not direct possibility. There you are kind of playing something, because that's actually grammatically speaking, it is not going to be correct unless again you use it as not method, could be a metaphor, or you're just playing with the person, because that's a real information, right? Because you know what you did yesterday, so you cannot say I may have done that yesterday, unless again you were, or you drank a lot of alcohol, or you were under right influence of some drugs, let's say, because you had an accident, right, and they put some medication on you and you don't remember what happened. So in that case, perhaps it is possible to give like a possibility with may have, but again, always in the past. If you are use have as the auxiliary and the verb in the past participle, it's always going to be past, right? But what I'm showing you there is that we cannot use it to give a possibility, a direct possibility with may have, might have directly, because logically speaking, right, in the language, that's not possible. All right, that's why again you only use may have and might have for conclusions. All right, but that have a possibility when you don't know what happened. All right, and again, you see something, you see a lot of people and they are fighting, you don't know what happened in the past. So if you want to give a conclusion about that group of people fighting in the past, you can say, right, they may have had, I don't know, problems because of the alcohol, or they may have, I don't know, right, they may have discussed about political topics or about religion, I don't know, something like that, and that's why they were fighting. Okay, so only to give conclusions.
It's like the grade of possibility. When I use could have, it's like 100% possibility that I will do a specific thing. And when I use might have or may have, it's like a 50% possibility. No, is I'm not, no, is I'm not sure at all that I will do specific things.
Yes, kind of, but remember that as this is past, that's why it's not possible to use it with I. That's why, again, I'm saying that you don't give direct possibilities with may have and can have, or sorry, may have and might have. You only give conclusions. All right. And again, what's the difference between a conclusion and a possibility? A possibility doesn't need to be a conclusion about anything, right? You can only say, I may do this tomorrow. My friend may go to the party. I don't know, right? But that's not a conclusion about anything. You're just giving possibilities, right? Giving possibilities, right? This may exist. This may be like this. This may be like that. Okay, those are direct possibilities. But you cannot give direct possibilities with may have and might have. Why? Because you're just going to give only conclusions about some things. All right, conclusions, but it can be compared to what you were saying. When you don't know, when you don't know what happened, when you don't really know what happened in the past, you can give a conclusion, yes, and you can mention that your conclusion, it's a possibility, right? Because you are approaching to that idea. But again, it's not only a possibility, it's a conclusion in the form of a possibility. All right, but again,
Mhm.
it's not going to be just a conclusion. Must have is the same. All right, because if you take a look again at the translation in the chat. The first one is you should
Mhm.
have paid attention right in class if you wanted. Uh, well, again, I'm missing something over there, right? The S. If you wanted,
Mhm.
right, to pass the semester. But if you say
Mhm.
you must have paid attention, right, in class if you wanted to pass the semester, that little difference between you should have paid and you must have paid makes a difference. And that's why must have is not going to be used in this case. All right, it is only going to be used with should have. You should have done this if you wanted to do that, because that's not a conclusion, right? That's
Mhm.
our
A
recommendation,
recommendation.
or something like that. So in that case, we have to use should. Must have only when something happened and you are giving a conclusion about thing that happened. Okay, but something that already happened, not something that you wanted to happen, not something that didn't happen and you wanted to be like that. Only for things that happened. All right, and that's going to be the same for may have, might have. Okay, so must have, may have, might have. The three of them are for conclusions. But must have is when you are sure, when you feel sure. Okay, not 100%, but 99%. You feel sure of what you're saying. And may have and might have when you are not sure for what happened. So you're just guessing, right? You are telling whatever comes to your mind because you're guessing. Okay, so those three, four conclusions mainly. When you know and when you don't know. And then the rest of them could have for possibilities, general possibilities, right? You don't need to give a conclusion. You don't need to have a conclusion with could have. Okay, you can only give direct possibilities. And again, the examples can be, right? You could have studied medicine, right? Because I believe that it was better for you, or you could have gone to the party, right? It was great, but you didn't. Okay, so direct possibilities we could have. And should have is going to be just, again, for what we mentioned, all right? Recommendations, regrets, critics, all right? Criticizing someone directly for something. And that's going to be in general. Let me know now if you have any questions about that, please.
Mhm. And I am here with the
Okay, I'm
but
going to.
mhm, my last question is I can use must have for present. It's only for past.
Yes, must is all of them, all perfect models.
All of
Anytime you
them.
see a model plus have, it's always for past. Always. 100% of the time. So here in this case, and remember, right, I was telling you this is always here. If you want to give a present idea, you don't say
Mhm.
this. You directly say, I must pay, right, attention. So let's just delete that. I must pay, right? And that's now your present, right? Attention to the class if I want to pass the semester. Now, this is what we call present real conditional. Okay, and in this case, this is good. And this is good. But if you change this to the past model, because again, perfect models are past models. So if you have must have, it is directly a past model. Okay, so if you have a past model, then here you need another reference to the past. But yes, the answering to the question directly, and we cannot use must have in present. It's always in past. Also should have, always in past. May have, might have, also in past. Or anytime you see that combination with the past participle, only past, every time past.
All is in past. No, it could have noise for present.
No,
Might have,
all of
may
them
have.
are.
Okay.
No, exactly. All of them are past. Because remember, they are called perfect models or past models. Okay, that's what we call these groups of models. So yes, only past, only past. All right, we're going to keep practicing. Let's read the rest of your ideas. But here again, this is what we should do. No, this is not the ideal and right. This is your second idea. But if you realize, this is the same. Right here, we have to use should. Right, you shouldn't have slept with your wet hair if you didn't want a cold. Right, or if you hadn't want, but it's going to be going to the past idea, right? Because if you say again don't, it's in present. But again, we're going to try to not for today, it can be for the next one. All right, so that today we can start with the class. We are going to work on the examples with must. All right, once again, taking into account that this can be one possibility. Actually, it is not here, but I'm going to leave everything there. All right, but this is what we need to check. I'm going to mark them. All right, and taking into account what? That this is not going to be for conditionals, it is not going to be for criticizing, for giving options. No, must, it's only for a conclusion, for something that happened, right? And remember, the good context is always going to be in past in most of the cases. And you're going to have, right? She sat, and you give me that conclusion, right? Or she was sad. Give me a conclusion. Why you think she was sad? If you feel very sure about it, use must have, right? If you see, right, there was a lot of people, right? There were a lot of people, sorry. So what's your conclusion about that thing in the past? Why do you believe that there were a lot of people in the past in that situation, right? Give me your conclusion. What's your idea? Okay, and you give me your conclusion with must, pretending that you are very sure. Okay, so to give an example with must have in the correct way, first you need to think of an event in the past, okay, any event, and then you give me your conclusion about that event, saying what happened, why was that, explaining that why.
And
All right,
I can't use if because it's a conditional.
in this case, yes, because it's going to give it a different state. It's not going to be, at least in the way we're working the perfect models now, it is not going to be the best option. We are not going to use if in this case, correct? All right, let's go to the next ones. So, and then you ask me the ideas in general. So here you, most of them, right? You were working with if, or not most of them. Let's see, you only one more, I believe. This one, right? I might have won the lottery if I buy tickets, right? But again, we are in the present field, right? We're in the present field, so this is not going to be correct, and we are using here the past ideas. All right, so remember, you have two options to talk about, and in this case, actually, this can be a possibility. So yes, you can keep that one, but remember, you have to change at least the second part. Here, you need either the simple past or the past perfect, okay? Only one of those two. because it has to be about something unreal in the present in the form of a possibility, or something unreal in the past. So here the two ways to
Mm.
possibly correct this is going to be, I might have won the lottery if I bought the tickets all days, right? But it's going to be here more like every day,
Uh-huh.
right? Every day.
No is with
Or
past participle. I have bought
no, present perfect,
tickets.
no. It can be only simple past or past perfect. And the past
Past
perfect is
participle.
with had. That's again, this is
Mm.
something that we didn't cover yet. This is not the lesson that we're in, but at least I'm giving you this. When we see the lesson, we're going to see this in more detail. All right, but
Mhm.
here you only have two options: simple past, but, or past perfect. And with the past perfect, you use the past participle, Natalia, but only
Mm.
if you use the past perfect over here. All
Okay.
right, one of those elements over there. This is anytime you have a conditional. This is again past and real conditional or mixed conditional. Here, I might
Mhm.
have not worn, all right, your dress. It is too small for me, right? But remember, this is not possible, right? Why? You are saying this, all right? This is what you're saying here.
Mhm.
This is the one. I believe that that's the case, all right? Even though you can find the logic between those two ideas, if you say, I may have not worn your dress, you're giving me there, that's again mainly used for conclusions, all right?
Mhm.
But you're saying, right, it's too small for me, but you are giving a conclusion about yourself, right? Again, this is only going to be possible, Natalia, if you're telling me that you don't remember, all right? You don't remember what happened.
Ah,
Why?
yes. Mhm.
Okay, because this is past. So that's why mainly you're going to give conclusions about anything else because you don't know. So you're giving conclusions, and that's why, because you don't know, right? You can say she might have not worn your dress, I don't know, because she was doing something else, but I'm not sure, I don't know, right? You're giving a type of conclusion. But again, the
Mhm.
best way to give a conclusion with might or may is again at the same as with must, Natalia. First, you have an event, something in the past, and then you give me a conclusion about that, right? For
Mhm.
example, if you see me happy, if you see me sad, or if you see, again, the same example, I'm repeating the same example, right? If you see a lot of people, if you, in the past, right, if you saw a lot of people, if you saw, I don't know, something different in the party, if you had an event in the past and you want to give your conclusion about what happened or why it was happening, then you say might. All right. But in this case, again, it is
Mhm.
not going to be possible because you are telling me directly
Yes.
that you don't know, right? You don't know if you did it or not. Again, unless you can use this only if you are playing with that person, if you're kidding, if you're joking, if you want to bother that person, right? I may have done it, I may have not done it, right? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you,
Mm.
right? So in that case, you are playing with the person. You know, but you are just playing by saying that. All right. But again, to give a real conclusion and a real idea, it's going
Mhm.
to be about something that happened and you don't know what really happened, but you are guessing, right? You are just giving ideas and ideas about that. I don't
But
know if
if
you
I
have.
say, like you said, in another person, she might have not worn your dress. It is too small for her. The sense is changed.
Okay, yes, in that case, it can be a type of conclusion. Yes, your conclusion is that she might not have worn your dress. Okay, because the other person is saying, right, she wore my dress. She wore it, I'm sure. But you
Mhm.
say, I don't know. right? She might not, or she might, yes, and the one correction also over here, I was not paying attention to that. Remember the position of not, right? It's always going to be after the one. Okay, so you're going to say, she might not have worn your dress. Okay, and why? Because if the dress is still there, right, and it's still part of the present conversation about a past situation, this can be possible. It
Mhm.
is too small for
Small
her with a
for her.
semicolon. Exactly.
Mhm.
So yes, in this case, if that's the idea, it can be possible, Natalie. That's correct, because it can
Mhm.
be a conclusion about someone else.
But
That's
I
correct.
am not sure at all. I It's like a possibility.
Yes, and also this one is going to make it that you are kind of sure. But actually, right, even though it's small, perhaps she wore her dress, right? Even though it's small, she wore her dress, perhaps. So yes, so even if you have this information, you feel that you are not sure about that, yes, might is going to be the best option.
Mhm.
Only if you feel that you are not sure about your conclusion, correct? Uh-huh. If you feel that because of this information, Natalia, you know that it was not the case, you say she must not have used your your dress, for example, because that's going to be a strong conclusion
Mhm.
because you feel sure, right, about it. So again, that's why you can think only the three of them together: must have, may have, might have. The three of them are for conclusions. Must have for a conclusion when you are sure, may have and might have for conclusions when you are not sure. All right, so yes, that is better. All
Mhm.
right, with may have, might have, I believe that we're good. Let's go to the next one. You're going to keep asking questions. Could have, right, for general possibilities. It says the policeman could have found clues, right, in the house, right, into only when you are talking about movement, right? You are getting into a place, you are walking into a place, right? But if you are not moving to a place, it's not going to be directly into, all right? It can be here in or at the house, one of those. But this is good. This is a direct possibility. Yes, the policeman could have found the clues in the house. It's for you a possibility in the past. Okay, you don't have a context over here, but just the idea like that, it's going to make sense because of many reasons. When you say couldn't, right? Couldn't have. Remember in the
Yeah.
this way. Also, let me remember that here so that we don't forget. It is an impossibility, right? Okay, it seems to be okay. I could not have said lies to him. I'm an honest person. All right. So yes, you are an honest person, right? Today and yesterday and every time, right? So when you're describing something that doesn't change, it is okay to use the present, but this idea is referred to the past, right? These
Mhm.
ideas always refer to the past, but your description about yourself is in the present, right? But it is correct. Yes, this is
Mhm.
possible. You're talking about an impossibility, in this case about yourself, and it is correct. All right, now here, just two details. Remember the semicolon because these are two complete ideas. And here something happens. We use a vowel before consonants, but remember, only when they have the sound of a consonant. But as we don't say honest and we say honest, it's like vowel, vowel. So they are conflicting. Okay, so in order not to
Mhm.
conflict, we're going to say an in this case.
Mhm.
All right, an
Mm.
honest person. All right, good. Let's take a look at the next one. Everyone should have used sunscreen, all right, because the radiation, here we say in the summer, is very high. All right, and again, this is again only going to be possible, Natalia, only if you are giving here a general description about how the summer always is, right? If in the summer it is always very high, right, the radiation as you're talking about, it is correct, right? But again, in that case, you have to remember always that this is past, right? This is past. If that is clear, the next part can be present, but only if you're giving a general description about that. All right, but again, writing this in present doesn't make this present, right? This is always going to be referring to past. All right, that's going to be my thing over there. So in the summer, all right.
I have to put in the summer was very high in the past. And no,
If you want, no, like this again, it is going to be correct if you are giving me just a general description about this. But if you have in mind and you know that this is past, then it is correct, right? Here, yes, it can be in past. And sometimes it is better to mention two ideas in the past with perfect models because it's always related to a specific event in the past, right?
okay,
It is
but
always
it's in
related to that.
general, it's in present.
Yes, you can keep in present, but this idea is still in past, right? You're saying that in the past, everyone should have used sunscreen because in general, in the summer, right, the radiation is always very high. Okay,
Mhm.
but the first idea is always going to be past. But yes, as it is general, it can remain like that. And here, you shouldn't have spent, yes, like this, right? The negative is here, correct? You shouldn't have spent a lot of money on that, okay? If you, again, here, it's going to depend on the unreal condition as I told you, right? If you are playing a paying, and remember with paying always for, right? You pay for someone. If you are paying for your apartment, okay, for your apartment. But again, as this is unreal or mixed conditional, here you have two options, right? You shouldn't have spent a lot of money on that if you, right, were or had been paying. One of those two is going to be necessary to talk about the present or the past. All right. Here, for example, this is one possibility. If you were paying for your apartment, or the past perfect, if you had been paying for your apartment. Okay, and again, that's something that's a new lesson. We have a presentation for that lesson, but
Mhm.
those are the general corrections, Natalia. I know we spend more time over here, but it's good that this is clear because if I'm not wrong, no, not yet. I believe it's going to be in the last course. Let me verify that. Yes, it is going to be the last one. Okay, not even this one. After we finish this new course, in the last one you're going to see these elements that I'm showing you now. Okay, that's why it's still confusing. You're going to see wish,
Mhm.
you're going to see the past and real conditional, you're going to see the present and real conditional, the past perfect continuous, perfect models again. All right, that's to reinforce. So again, right now it's not for you to understand this completely because what you're going to
Mhm.
use or the way in which you're going to use this, that's going to be part of the last course. All right. But again, mainly in order for you not to feel like this is out, remember it's going to be in the last class or in the last course, sorry. But remember the elements that I told you, right? Perfect models or past models are always in past. Must, may, and might with have. They are always for past conclusions. Must when you are sure, may and might when you are not sure. Could have is for past possibility, right? And should have is for recommendations in the past, right? Or critics or regrets, right? Something that you believe that it was not a good idea for you, right? I shouldn't have gone to the party. It was a bad idea, right? That's regret for you. But that's in general. I don't know if you have any questions, Natalia. Let me know, please.
No.
All right. So keep practicing. Remember, you only have to do one thing. That's going to be for Friday. The
Mhm.
must examples. All right. Two examples with
Okay.
must have, and that's going to be it. Now again, we don't have the time. Perhaps I'm just going to introduce the the things we're going to do. And I'm going to ask you, please, Natalia, to join the new course on Google Classroom. That is this one over here. Okay, so in the chat, you can find a link to join the new, the new course on Classroom. You can find everything over there as always, the lessons, the presentations, and the job that we're going to be doing. Right now, just as a way of introduction, I'm going to show you what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about this and another lesson on Friday, but this is going to be the first one, causative verbs. We're at least going to read the definition and what are the verbs we're going to cover. Let's read the definition for causative verbs, please, Natalia.
Causative verbs are verbs that express that a person caused another person to do something.
Sorry. Now, when you talk about this idea, you are directly making someone do something. This happens when you have a type of relationship, right? Boss, employee, mother, son, when there's a specific type of relationship between those two. Or it can be because of a service, of a professional service, or even with friends, but the relationship there is going to be different. But I'm going to explain what I'm talking about with these verbs. These are the verbs that we call positive verbs. Okay, these verbs are going to show the connection between two people. Okay, here you're going to talk about two people. Sometimes we can talk about animals, but no, mainly this is going to be between people. All right, make when the relationship is boss, employee, mother, son. Okay, so a very strong relationship. Why? Because you can talk about obligation, force, and requiring. Right? Have when you have service, when you pay someone temporarily and that person does something for you, just one time, two times, I don't know. And then that's it, right? That's the end of the relationship. And again, right now it's going to be opened, but we're going to practice that on Friday. Get is convincing, persuading. You use this with friends. Let and help, again, these are part of this group. I don't agree with it, but that's going to be something we're going to see at the end. Let is for permission, and help is what we know, right? To give aid, to give help. Okay, let is what you know, help is what you know. But these three verbs are the important ones here. And this again can be sometimes complex, but we're going to try to understand it with make. If make is clear for you, I'm going to show you now some examples, Natalia. Then this and this is going to be clear for you because it is exactly the same. It is only the context that has to be different. Sorry, the people with which you use that is different. But again, let's show at least a little bit now before finishing. That is make. Let's read these three examples, please, Natalia. Only the examples with make.
They make students complete the assignments. His mother made him eat the vegetables. The professor made the class take the exam today.
Okay, so again, in this part, it is very simple, and actually it can be very simple if we only try to understand all the verbs that I showed you as make, but less strong and less strong. All right, so do you make people do something, Natalia, in any situation? What do you say? What do you make people do?
It's like you have to push to another person to do something.
Yes, and because it's the obligation, right? And not directly like that, but it's like implied. For example, in mother and son, right? For example, in the second example, right? His mother made him eat vegetables. So yes, obligation, not directly like obligating or pushing, but sometimes because it is your job, right? Or the type of employee, right? The boss made the employees, I don't know, complete the survey, for example, right? The boss made the employees complete the assignments. He didn't push them, but it was enough, right? He told them to do it, and they did it because it was their obligation, right? So yes. And what do you say? Is there a situation in which you make people do something, Natalia?
Mm, mm, maybe um, mm, the police make uh, tourists present their passport.
All right. Okay, good. The police in that case, that's like plural, right? The police is going to be plural. All right. The police make, and you're talking about present. So this is, you're talking about a routine, right? So you can say the police always make the tourists, right? Or tourists present something specific, right? A type of document, the passport, for example. Yes, it is correct. If it's an obligation and they make them do that, it is good. What about in past? What obligation in past can you mention? For example, number 2 is in past.
Mm, the doctor made me took my medicine.
One more time. What is after made me? Made me?
The doctor made me took my medicine.
Okay, but if you're saying took right in past, it's not going to be correct. In the, well, we didn't read, right? I didn't tell you. But the only thing that is in past is the main verb, make. Okay? The main verb over here, it's always base form. So it's going
Okay.
to be take.
The doctor made me take the medicine.
Great, exactly. If in a certain way you believe that the doctor uh, forced, right, require you in a certain way, work on an obligation on you to do it, it is good. Correct. What about future? With that, we finish. But again, this is the logic. This is the only thing they do, Natalia. The only difference between make, have, and get is going to be that they are less strong and less strong, and the people with which you use this. All right, but we're going to take a look at that on Friday. But to finish, what obligation can you mention in future?
The university will make students come back the class to the class.
Okay, all right, yes, yes. We'll make students come back to class or to the classes or to classes in general. But yes, it is correct. The university will make students come back, right, or return to classes, right? Great, correct, good. So okay, easy. All right, now because of the time, we're going to finish here, but we use make as a causative verb, very easy, right? When we talk about obligations, when we say that someone or something is forcing, obliging, requiring someone else or a group of people do something specific. And it's always going to be like that, right? Make in any tense, present, past, future, the object or the person in this case, right? And the verb in the base form, right? Always the base form, complete, it, take as we were able to see. That's it. As I'm sending the poll, please, Natalia, let me know if you have any questions about this introduction that we're going to continue on Friday.
Okay, finish. Only 1 minute for paste in the classroom. This guide for me.
Okay, yes.
I'm not sure if my conclusions about that's okay. It's after the image of the thermometer.
Yeah, I'm not getting very well, Natalia. Well, what do you want me to do right now? What do you want me to show you?
Yes, in the classwork, I put some conclusions about the use of must have, will have, might have, that I am taking notes. Can you check if that's okay?
All right, let me take a look at that quickly before I leave. Is it at the end of everything?
Yes, this. Before the paragraph.
Okay.
Yes, dear.
All right.
This.
Okay, yes. All right, past conclusion, affirmative, negative, yes. Possibility, right? Yes, for direct possibility. This,
For
yes, if
general
you
idea.
call it 100% possibility in a certain way, yes, general ideas in the past that are a possibility, yes. And conclusions, right, that you are not sure, right, that happened or what happened. You're not sure, right, for a conclusion and you're not sure what happened. It is correct. Should have recommendations, right, mainly past recommendations, but remember, yeah, no, for should, right, no conclusions. In this case, no conclusions. All right, only regrets and recommendations. That's it. Regrets, recommendations, those mainly, but not the other elements. That's correct. Good. Now here, instead of this one, you're going to say conclusions that you aren't sure, right, that happened. It's going to be better. All right, that happened. And there are general ideas in past. Okay, yes, I believe that in general it is good, Natalia. Remember, it can be more complex and we can have more ideas, but this is going to help you understand in what situations you can use these elements. All right, and again, also my recommendation, Natalia, is try not to use, even all of them can be possibly used in conditionals with if, but if you want to practice only perfect models and the meaning that they have, don't use it with conditionals. Why? Because it always gives another idea to that. All right. And again, the best one for conditionals is always going to be would, right? Would have. That's always going to be the best option. But to practice this and be sure that it is correct with a context only, it is better if you use all of them in different situations that is not a conditional. Okay, that's only a piece of advice. They can be used, but again, the context is not going to be completely clear in that case. It is better if you give me another context and then you give me your idea in the perfect model following these ideas.
Okay, perfect.
All right, good. There you go. Again, today we didn't have the time to check even the paragraph. I want to give you feedback about that. So we're going to save that for Friday as well. For Friday, there are only two things at the beginning, the two examples with must have, then we check the paragraphs, and then we continue with the verbs. All right?
Okay, thank you so much.
That's it. No, you're very welcome. Have a good night, Natalia. I'll see you on Friday then.
Okay, see you. Good night.
Bye. Good night.